Good morning. Good morning, Thursday, January 23rd. And welcome. We are going through A Course in Miracles as usual at 11 a.m. Central Time, live on TikTok every day. One workbook lesson per day, and then also a section from the text that corresponds to the lesson. Today is Thursday, January 23rd, just a few days after the inauguration. The world is still here. We are all still here. God bless us all. God bless everyone. And we'll just wait for the word to get out here and for some people to start checking in on this live. Good morning. Hi, Laura. Hi, Danny. Tom C. Welcome, guys. We're going to start by looking at lesson 23 from Course in Miracles this morning. Lesson 23 says, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from the world that I see by giving up attack thoughts. This is quite an interesting lesson today. I think it's very easy while we look at A Course in Miracles. When I look at A Course in Miracles, I've been working with A Course in Miracles for almost 25 years now, both by myself and with a group. We've studied this book for 25 years plus, and I think it's really easy sometimes to kind of gloss over what's being read in this book, because there are some really strong messages, some really deep messages in both the text and the workbook. And I think this is one of them. If you are in the room this morning, if you've stopped by and you could tap the screen, I would appreciate it, that we could get some likes for this live. That would help out the channel. And also make sure to follow, and you can see the other things that I like to talk about, spiritual subjects, and how our spiritual framework, how our spiritual perception helps us look at the world differently, look at the culture differently, look at politics differently, and how looking at all of those things in the external world can help us both personally and collectively transform our consciousness. And so, hello, Gramps 57, Stacy, Kenny, Jackie, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. So, as we go through A Course in Miracles and the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, of course, we are transforming our consciousness. This is the goal of A Course in Miracles, and you'll see it in the first paragraph of the workbook today. It says, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. The question is, can I give up attack thoughts? What are attack thoughts? How often am I aware of them? How often are they floating through my consciousness? How often am I grabbing onto them and thinking that they're real? By the way, attack thoughts are not real. Why are attack thoughts not real? Because they are not the thoughts of God. Only the thoughts of God are real. Only thoughts of love, peace, happiness, and fulfillment. Our real thoughts are our real thoughts. And attack thoughts are not real. Let's look and see what it says. The idea for today contains the only way out of fear that will ever succeed. Nothing else will work. Everything else is meaningless. But this way cannot fail. What way is that? Giving up attack thoughts. This is the only way out of fear, giving up attack thoughts. Every thought you have makes up some segment of the world you see. It is with your thoughts, then, that we must work. If your perception of the world is to be changed. So my attack thoughts arise from fear and also add to the fear that I experience according to A Course in Miracles. Why do my attack thoughts contribute to my fear? Because, of course, if I realize if attack is possible, then probably I will be attacked in return sooner or later. And so I put up defenses, psychological defenses, in order to defend myself against perceived attacks. And A Course in Miracles is suggesting very strongly that maybe it would be much better just to give up those attack thoughts. If I can give up my attack thoughts, then I won't be worried about, hi, Carmen, good to see you. If I can give up my attack thoughts, then I won't be worried about retribution. What goes around comes around, right? So if the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. There is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Here, you are changing the cause. The effect will change automatically. So it says here, there is no point in trying to change the world. But then 3 sentences later, it says the effect will change automatically. The world will change automatically. So you can't change the world, but the world will change automatically. But the key is I have to change my thoughts. I can't really change the world through action by doing things. That's a tough one, right? The real secret to success of changing the world is changing my perception of the world, which means I have to change my thoughts. The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. So, yesterday, we said lesson 22 was what I see is a form of vengeance. When I look around the world, when I look around the room, when I look through the windshield of my car, what I see is a form of vengeance. Why is it a form of vengeance? Because everything I see is a symbol of attack. Why is it a symbol of attack? Because everything is separate. This is what Course in Miracles is laying out. Because I think I'm separate from God. I think everything else is separate from God. And if you're separate from God and I'm separate from God, the idea that's being explored recently in these lessons is then I think you and I are in a battle about what meaning is, what the meaning of a situation, what the meaning of a relationship, what the meaning of someone says, try to be succinct. A fascist government is attempting to take over our country. Okay, so that's an attack thought, in case, I mean, as long as we're on the subject, that is an attack thought. So, real quickly, since you put it in the comments, let's use it as an example. Now, quite clearly, there's a lot of people that think that we are under attack by a fascist leader or fascist government or woke government. Doesn't matter which side you pick. As it says here in the Course in Miracles, I can escape from that by giving up attack thoughts. So by giving up thoughts that the world can attack me, that the government can attack me. that the president or any politician can attack me. That's an attack thought. And it arises from a sense of separation. It arises from a state of mind that is not unified. So what we're looking for in A Course in Miracles and what is being laid out in this text is to train ourselves and discipline our mind to find a unified field of consciousness. And a unified mind, by definition, cannot suffer from attack. A unified mind cannot suffer from attack. So what's happening is I'm attacking myself with a split mind because I think there's someone else here. I'm the only one here in this consciousness. I'm a localized center of one consciousness, okay? And everything I see is a reflection of myself. So if I have a unified consciousness and if I understand that everything I see is being projected from that unified consciousness, then I can allow everything that's happening. I can bless it. I can extend love and understanding to it. Okay. If my mind is split, as it says in A Course in Miracles, if I think I'm separate, then when my mind projects itself, then I'm going to see conflict everywhere. I'm going to see power plays everywhere. And I'm glad that comment showed up in the comments here today, because I think it's important to start moving spirituality. How do I take my spirituality? How do I take? This is the question I'm asking, and that I'd like to explore with, anyone who is interested in it, that I would like to explore on this platform and other platforms, is once I'm grounded in my spirituality and the vibration of the world starts to rise, how does, for instance, politics start to look different? How do my relationships start to look different? How does the way I earn money start to look different from a unified field of consciousness? So obviously, we're undergoing a transition here on the planet, both personally and collectively. I don't think that really can be argued with anymore. I guess either you see it or you don't, but if you do see it, then my question to you, and the question I'm asking myself, is how do I then participate in the world with the unified field of consciousness, and how do all the components of our culture start to look different, and how can we recreate them from this unified field of consciousness? So thank you, my friend. Of course, he has scrolled by, but thanks for that comment about the fascist government, because this is exactly the substance I think we need to begin to test ourselves, test our spiritual fortitude, if you will. Can I remain peaceful? Can I remain engaged? Can I remain loving while these types of discussions, comments, points of view are being shared in the space? Okay, the world you see, back to lesson 23. The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. Each of your perceptions of, quote unquote, it says external reality, is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. Is not fantasy a better word for such a process, and hallucination a more appropriate term for the result, right? So we talk about the external world being a dream or a simulation. Here's another word for it. The Course in Miracles says, it may be a fantasy. It also may be more or less a hallucination. Course in Miracles is saying, this text, this workbook lesson is saying, what you see outside of yourself, would you be willing to consider that what you're looking at is really more of a hallucination than anything else? The hallucinations of a madman, okay, of someone who is insane. And of course, much later in the text, much later in the workbook, this idea will be introduced that really the way we think and perceive of things, individually and collectively, could more or less be put in the category of insanity. Makes sense to me. And it says here's another key point. You see the world that you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? The cause is the belief in separation. The cause is a split mind, a mind that is not unified with the mind of God. Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. Loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they were made of hate, for you will not be making them alone. Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. This idea, you can hear this, of course, discussed in metaphysical circles, spiritual texts, and teachings. The world is already complete. Everything has already been created. You are already saved. You have already completed this course. You've already completed this course in miracles. We are living in whatever you want to call it, a simulation of the past. The Course in Miracles says we're just watching the past pass in front of us. And we think we're participating in it, but the game is already over. The game is already won. The game, which is a dream, never really happened. And then it asks you, isn't that a reason to celebrate? Isn't that a reason to be joyful? Isn't that a reason to be happy? This is not real. All this pain, suffering, hatred, lack of love, poverty, everything you see, disease, on that side of the equation, it is not real. So isn't that good news? It asks us. The idea for today introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause can be changed. This change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go so that it can be replaced. The first two steps in this process require your cooperation. The final one does not. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first two steps, you will see that this is so. Again, saying right there, the healing, the joy, the happiness, the peace already exists. Those images already exist. That's already the reality. That's already the truth. I just have to give up my idea of war. I just have to give up my idea of hatred. I have to give up my idea of separation. And surprise, surprise, that might be a little bit trickier than I think. It may not be as easy as I first thought. So the thought for the day, it says, besides using it throughout the day as the need arises, 5 practice periods are required. Close your eyes, devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts that occur to you. You can do this even if you are a spiritual person. Search your mind for the attack thoughts. It also will say later in the text, me attacking other people, but also other people or things attacking me. And I would consider an attack thought. I'm looking outside. It snowed last night. It's very cold here where I am. You know what an attack thought is? It's too cold. I'm being attacked by the cold. That's an attack thought to me. So I could search my mind. I don't want to go outside. It's too cold. Okay. Being attacked by the weather. I don't like the weather. It's too rainy. It's too cold, etc., right? So as each attack thought crosses your mind, say, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about the cold. I can give up attack thoughts about the weather. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about the condition of my car or the condition of the type of clothes I have in my closet, whatever it is. Okay. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You do not recognize this as yet, and you are asked at this time only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We are still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally learn that thoughts of attack and of being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. So, that is the lesson for today. Now, let's take a quick look at the text that corresponds to this. The text will be chapter 3, section 7, which is 23 sections into the text, creating versus the self-image. So yesterday, the day before, a distinction was made between the words make and create. The ego makes, the ego invents, the ego makes things up, the ego mind, the mind of separation, while the Holy Spirit, while the Christ consciousness creates, because it is a mind that is unified with the Creator. And so it creates like the Creator creates. So creating versus the self-image. And it says every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating, a difference we have already discussed. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations. So where am I coming from? What is the initiating thought? Is it a thought of separation or is it a thought of oneness? Thank you for Effortless Manifesting for the likes. I appreciate it. And check those guys out. I see them on my For You page quite a bit. I see them pass through. They've got some interesting things to say. They're fun to watch. Effortless Manifesting. Little plug there for you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating. Their resemblance lies in their power's foundations. Their difference lies in what rests upon them. Both are cornerstones for systems of belief by which one lives. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. Nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is essential to realize this because otherwise you will be unable to escape from the prison you have made. Okay. I've made the prison. I've made the prison in my own mind. And as we said earlier, some of the earlier lessons, I have no neutral thoughts. Therefore, I see no neutral things. And it's being reiterated here, re-emphasized that nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. And so you'll certainly discover this as we embark upon a spiritual program, upon spiritual growth. You will certainly recognize that a certain amount of resistance arises, a certain amount of obstacles arise. It doesn't seem to be so easy. That pink cloud stage kind of wears off there, doesn't it? And then, there's dark nights of the soul and those types of things. There are times when I don't seem to be making much progress. There are times when the energy seems difficult. This is all baked into the equation, of course. This is all a part of it. None of my thoughts are weak. I want to realize and understand that all of my thoughts are powerful. So my attack thoughts are powerful. My thoughts of being attacked, my thoughts of attacking are powerful, and I will suffer the consequences. It says you cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind. So yesterday we read about the authority problem. Who is the author of reality? To do so is to deceive yourself. And this will hurt you because you really to do so is to deceive yourself, and this will hurt you because you really understand the strength of the mind. You also realize that you cannot weaken it any more than you can weaken God. The devil, quote unquote, is a frightening concept because he seems to be extremely powerful and extremely active. He is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling him for possession of his creations. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is in direct opposition to God. Yet, he attracts men rather than repels them, and they are willing to, quote unquote, sell him their souls in return for gifts of no real worth. This makes absolutely no sense, the Course says. So, the Course is presented as a framework, a Christian framework, and so it does, throughout the course of the text, redefine that Christian framework. And so here, it's talking about the devil, and it's redefining the devil. And it says basically the devil as a concept makes absolutely no sense. There is the Creator, there is God, and there is only one mind. It says we have discussed the fall or separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood. The separation is a system of thought real enough in time, though not in eternity. All beliefs are real to the believer. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, but God could not have forbidden it, or it could not have been eaten. If God knows his children, and I assure you that he does, would he have put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? This is the message of salvation as presented by A Course in Miracles, and it asks us to apply the truth, to bring the illusions to the truth, to think with reason, a capital R. And so the question here is, would God have created us and then allowed us our own destruction? And it's and once it really hits you, once you really kind of understand, it's kind of a silly question. Well, did God create us in order to let us destroy ourselves? No, God created us according to this text, and just if you just really think about it deeply and meditate upon it, created in the image and likeness of God. God created us to extend itself, to extend the idea of creation, to extend creation. So we are extensions of creation, and created in the image and likeness of our creators, our creator. We are creators and we are extending creation. So creation is extended through us, through each one of us, which that is awesome. That is an awesome idea. If God knows his children, and I assure you that he does, would he have put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? The forbidden tree was named the tree of knowledge, yet God created knowledge and gave it freely to his creations. The symbolism here has been given many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation that sees either God or his creations as capable of destroying their own purpose is in error. Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression for usurping the ability for self-creating. This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. The belief that they are is implicit in the quote-unquote self-concept, or the tendency of the self to make an image of itself. So this is this has to be read, contemplated, thought about, gone over many times. What's being said here? This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. And the idea here is that the ego usurps the idea of creation. The ego thinks it's the ego mind, the separate mind, thinks it's the creator. Okay. And that is an incorrect concept. With a unified field and a unified consciousness, then God's will and my will are one. Father and I are one. And therefore, God's creation proceeds through me as an instrument and you as an instrument. But I did not create myself. I did not create you. There is a creator that is on a higher order of creation. Okay, and it's not some white dude with beard and robes sitting on a cloud in the sky. Okay, it's more like the quantum field. It's more like quantum intelligence. It's more like, I guess it's more like that. You know, we have to come up with a different idea of what God is, right? You can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than believe it. You cannot make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot. The idea here is if I really created this mess and I really was a creator, then I would not be able to undo it, because what God creates is eternal and permanent. And if I really was the original creator, the mess I've created would be always a mess. I would not be able to change it. Fortunately, it's saying here, I should be glad that I am not the creator, that I am the created, and I was created perfect, whole, and complete. And so that is my true status. That is my true nature. You cannot make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot. Until then, however, the belief that you can is the foundation stone in your thought system, and all your defenses are used to attack ideas that might bring it to light. You still believe you are an image of your own making. Your mind is split with the Holy Spirit on this point, and there is no resolution while you believe the one thing that is literally inconceivable. That is why you cannot create and are filled with fear about what you make. Okay, so as I always say, if you don't have the Course in Miracles, if you don't have the book, go online to ACIM.org. That's the Foundation for Inner Peace. That is the publisher of the Course in Miracles. The entire thing is online. It's open source, and you can check this out. Chapter 3, Section 7. The mind can make the belief in separation very real and very fearful, and this belief is the devil, quote unquote. It is powerful, active, destructive, and clearly in opposition to God because it literally denies his fatherhood. Look at your life and see what the devil has made, but realize that this making will surely dissolve in the light of truth because its foundation is a lie. So that was a lot. That was a lot right there. Your creation by God is the only foundation that cannot be shaken because the light is in it. Your starting point is truth, and you must return to your beginning. Much has been since then, but nothing has really happened. Right? Yourself is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. You have not yet gone back far enough, and that is why you become so fearful. I have a friend who is in the group that practices this, and known him for many, 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 many years. And one of the most one of the phrases he says that I like the most is he says, "Go deeper, go deeper." Okay, which is what it's saying right here. You have not yet gone back far enough, and that is why you become fearful. So just remember that anytime you become fearful, angry, depressed, doubtful, these are all forms of death, as it says in the Course in Miracles. There's life or there's death. There's love or there's fear. So anytime one of those emotions arises, okay, that means fear. You have not yet gone back far enough. As you approach the beginning, you feel the fear of the destruction of your thought system upon you as if it were the fear of death. There is no death, but there is a belief in death. Okay, last paragraph here. The branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. Be glad. Okay, death is not real. There is only life eternal. The light will shine from the true foundation of life, and your own thought system will stand corrected. It cannot stand otherwise. You who fear salvation are choosing death. Life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and perception are irreconcilable. To believe that they can be reconciled is to believe that God and his Son cannot. Only the oneness of knowledge is free of conflict. Your kingdom is not of this world because it was given you from beyond this world. Only in this world is the idea of an authority problem meaningful. The world is not left by death, but by truth, and truth can be known by all those for whom the kingdom was created and for whom it waits. So life and death, light and darkness, salvation or death, knowledge or perception, all these words and all these ideas are the same thing. They are opposite ends of one pole. They are polarity, right? And Course in Miracles says there's only one answer to all of this. It's a unified mind. Okay, one consciousness. That's the problem, and that's the answer. The problem is I don't think it's one consciousness. I think it's more than one consciousness. Okay, I believe in separation, or I believe in one consciousness. Okay, so once I decide for one consciousness, then I'm going to start to find out, how many different ways I actually believe in more than one consciousness. how many different ways I actually believe in the separation. That's what the practice is. That's why it takes 365 days. That's why it takes 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. Okay, just keep going. It's a continual practice. Later in the course, it will say, the only reason you're here is because you still believe in separation. The only reason you're in the environment, you're in the world but not of it, true, but the only reason you're here and perceiving things as separate is because I still believe in it. Okay, so again, paradox, there's all these paradoxes throughout this text also, but can I live, can I exist in paradox? Yes, I can. Can I transcend the paradox? Can I go deeper, or can I get closer to the beginning of thought? So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for passing through. That one was a little bit longer today, but that is all for this live for today for January 23rd, Thursday, January 23rd. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. Peace and blessings. Have a great day. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye.